Do you think what's more annoying to you, the extreme left or the extreme right?
The left viscerally makes me often want to punch them more, because they're just so often like anti-common sense. Yeah. So they just insist on championing things that are really about them, but they have to feel like they're social justice warriors. Mm-hmm. You know, they have to. It's very important for them to feel like they're the good people, and by telling us that we're all bad, that's how they know they're good.
Have you noticed how politics has become so intense that even a simple joke can turn into a huge argument? You say one thing, and suddenly people react like you're on trial. Social media posts get treated like weapons, and everyone is ready to judge. That's why this Bill Maher clip stands out. He's saying what many people quietly think, but are too nervous or tired to say out loud. In the clip, Maher is asked a simple question. What's more annoying, the extreme left or the extreme right? His answer explains why people either love him or strongly disagree with him. He says the extreme right is more dangerous, especially when it comes to issues like democracy, elections, and climate change. But then he adds something controversial. He says the far left makes him more frustrated, not because they are more dangerous, but because he finds them harder to deal with. What does he mean? He's criticizing a style of politics that focuses more on appearing morally superior than actually solving problems. Instead of asking, how do we fix this? It becomes, look how morally right I am. In his view, some activists focus too much on calling others out and not enough on practical solutions. Maher describes this as anti-common sense. He believes that basic, practical thinking often gets ignored in modern political debates. He argues that some people build their identity around being the good side, which can turn politics into a way to feel morally superior rather than a way to improve real-world issues. In short, his point is that political discussions today often feel more about performance and outrage than about solving problems.
People want to voice their opposition to what's going on in any administration. They're not happy with this, they're not happy with that. That's the way to show it. The Democrats are going to have to work really hard to figure out how they're going to blow this one.
This isn't just some random theory. Most people have experienced this feeling. You've probably been in a conversation where the other person isn't really listening to you. Instead, they're just waiting for you to say one wrong word so they can twist it and accuse you of something. You might say, I think we should help people. And someone responds, oh, so you're saying people can't help themselves? That's offensive. It becomes exhausting. Bill Maher connects this frustration to a bigger political question. What is the Democratic Party doing? And why does it keep making the same mistakes? He says he wants a strong Democratic candidate, someone who can bring things back to some sense of normal. He mentions Gavin Newsom as a possible option. On paper, Newsom looks strong. But Maher doesn't just blindly support him. He points out problems in California under Newsom's leadership. Even if you don't live there, you've probably heard about the issues: homelessness, sanitation problems, crime concerns, and a general feeling that things are not being handled well. Maher brings up a controversial example. The idea that if someone breaks into your home and you defend yourself, you might worry about getting in trouble. Whether that example is fully accurate or not, it connects with people because it reflects a larger feeling, that the system sometimes seems more focused on appearances and symbolism than on safety and effectiveness. Then he talks about homelessness. He argues that the meaning of compassion has changed. In the past, compassion meant helping homeless people get off the streets and into shelters, treatment programs, and stable housing. The goal was to improve their situation. But now he suggests compassion is sometimes framed as letting people stay on the streets because forcing them into programs might be seen as unfair or oppressive. And to him, that shift doesn't make sense. Overall, Maher's point is that good intentions are not enough. Policies should actually solve problems, not just sound morally right.
So I would like to have a strong Democratic candidate to get things back to a little bit of normal.
Is Newsom the strongest?
He is right now. Again, California, a lot of crazy stuff in this state. We know better than anybody, you know. If somebody breaks into your house and you shoot them, you have to worry that you're going to go to jail.
Right.
You know, lots of stuff like that. Homeless on the streets. And that's not just California. I've seen a number of people have died in New York, homeless on the street, because somehow they got it into their heads that the way to treat the homeless compassionately was not to get them off the streets. You know, us old school liberals, when we when we used to talk about this issue, the compassionate thing to do was to make sure they got off the streets, not to protect them in their pristine environment underneath a bridge.
This is a tough but important point. Sometimes the moral language sounds kind and compassionate, but the real-world results are terrible. In the case of homelessness, nobody wins. Not the homeless person, not the neighborhood, not the city, not business owners, and not taxpayers. The situation can be described in caring words, but if nothing improves, it can end up feeling like neglect. This is what Bill Maher keeps coming back to: the difference between image and results, between how things sound and what actually happens. He argues that if Gavin Newsom wants to be taken seriously as a presidential candidate in 2028, he can't just speak like a progressive hero. He has to show real results. He has to prove he can successfully run a state without it becoming an example people point to as a warning. Right now, many Americans look at California in two very different ways. Some see it as the future. Others see it as a cautionary tale. It depends on who you ask. Maher then broadens his criticism beyond Newsom. He says the Democratic Party as a whole has a branding problem. His main argument is simple. Many Americans don't connect with the message coming from a far left. The language and priorities sometimes feel like they are aimed at a small group of online activists rather than everyday voters. This is where Democrats can run into trouble. They may focus heavily on cultural debates that are popular on social media, but those debates may not directly affect someone who is struggling to pay rent, afford groceries, find childcare, or stay safe in their neighborhood. It's not that cultural issues don't matter. It's that when politics becomes mostly about culture wars, people who are dealing with practical, everyday problems start to feel ignored. Most people aren't waking up worried about wording changes in official documents. They're waking up worried about their paycheck, their bills, their health, and the cost of living. Maher's point is that when politics looks more like performance than problem-solving, voters lose confidence. They want solutions that improve their daily lives, not just messages that sound morally impressive.